Everyone stayed away from the alien girl, but the man sat there and treated her like a queen. The station was crowded, noisy, and smelled of metal and recycled air. Humans and aliens from different planets walked past each other, some in hurried steps, some gliding on hovering boards. Banners in bright colors hung from the ceiling, showing routes to different ships leaving for distant worlds. The chatter of voices, mixed with the hum of machinery, made it hard to think. Yet, in the middle of the waiting hall, there was a corner where silence seemed to settle. In that corner, sitting on a worn bench, was the alien girl. She was small, delicate in frame, with pale blue skin that shimmered faintly under the station lights. Her eyes were large, golden, and reflective, like sunlight on water. Long hair, white as moonlight, fell over her shoulders in soft waves. She held a small bag on her lap, her hands clutching it tightly, as though it were the only thing that kept her safe. Around her, people hurried past, casting quick glances but avoiding her completely. Some stopped for a second, then shook their heads and moved away. A man with a briefcase muttered something under his breath and walked faster. A group of children peeked from behind their parents, whispering excitedly, but were quickly pulled away. The alien girl seemed to shrink with every glance, her shoulders curling inward as if she were trying to disappear. The reason people avoided her was simple. Rumors had spread across the galaxy about her species. Whispers said her kind brought misfortune, that wherever they went, trouble followed. Stories from faraway worlds painted them as dangerous, unpredictable, and untrustworthy. No one knew for sure if these stories were true, but fear was easier than curiosity. And fear made people move away. All of this went unnoticed by one man. Ethan, a human with sandy brown hair and warm hazel eyes, was carrying a small pack and looking for a place to sit. He walked through the crowd, observing the hurried faces, the tense bodies, and the way everyone deliberately left a wide gap around the alien girl. His attention lingered on her, not with fear, not with suspicion, but with simple curiosity. He noticed her trembling slightly, the way she bit her lip, the quiet sadness in her golden eyes. Without hesitation, Ethan walked toward the bench and sat beside her. It was a small act, almost invisible, yet it sent ripples through the nearby crowd. Some people stopped staring at him. A few whispered to each other. Ethan did not care. He smiled gently at the alien girl and said, "Hello, mind if I sit here?" The girl looked at him, startled. No human had ever asked her that before. They all avoided her. Even station guards had told her to keep moving, to stay away from other humans. Yet this human, had simply sat down. Her voice trembled slightly as she whispered, I don't mind." "Good," Ethan said, his tone calm and friendly. "My name is Ethan. What's yours?" "Elira," she replied softly, almost like a secret. Ethan nodded. "Nice to meet you, Elira. How's your day going?" Elira hesitated. She was not used to kindness. She had learned to expect fear, suspicion, or mockery. But here was someone treating her like a normal person, like a friend. "It's okay," she said finally. "I'm just waiting for my ship." "Waiting for your ship, huh?" Ethan said, glancing toward the large departure screens. "Long wait." Elira nodded, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Yes, very long," Ethan smiled. "Well, you're not alone anymore. I'll keep you company." Her golden eyes widened. You will, of course," he said. "I don't think you should sit here all alone." The alien girl looked down at her hands. No one had ever cared about her feelings before. Most humans avoided her, and when they couldn't avoid her, they stared or spoke harshly. This simple offer of companionship felt strange, almost unreal. Yet a warmth spread inside her chest. She nodded quietly. "Thank you." For a while, they sat in silence. Ethan observed the people around them, noting the subtle signs of fear. A merchant pushing a cart of exotic fruits stopped and stared at them. His eyes widened, and he whispered something to his assistant before hurrying away. A group of students on a field trip slowed their pace, pointing subtly and talking in hushed tones. Elira's body tensed with each glance, but Ethan did not react. He remained calm, his presence a steady shield against the crowd's fear. After a few moments, Ethan opened his pack and took out a small water bottle. "Thirsty?" he asked, offering it to her. Elira hesitated. No human had ever shared anything with her before. Most would have left her to fend for herself. She shook her head slightly. I'm not thirsty." Ethan shrugged and drank a little himself. "Your choice," he said with a smile, "but it's hot today. Make sure to drink later." The alien girl watched him, curious. There was a confidence in his manner that was different from the others. He did not act bravely in the sense of fighting or showing strength. Instead, he simply did not fear her, and that was something new. After a few minutes, Ethan asked, "So, Illyra, where are you from?" She froze for a moment, unsure if she should answer. Humans had never been kind enough to care about her story, but now she felt a small trust growing. She took a deep breath and said softly, "I come from a world called Solara. It is far from here." Peaceful once before the war. War? Ethan asked, tilting his head. "What happened?" Illyra's voice lowered. "There was fighting, my people, they were attacked, many lost everything. I escaped alone." She clenched her bag tightly, as if holding her memories inside it. Ethan nodded, listening. He did not interrupt, did not question, did not judge. He simply gave her the space to speak. "That must have been hard," he said quietly. Illyra looked up at him. "Hard, yes, it was, but humans don't like my kind. Even now on this station, everyone, they avoid me." Her voice broke slightly and she looked down at her hands. Ethan reached over and gently touched her shoulder. "Some humans might be afraid," he said, "but fear doesn't mean hatred, it just means they don't understand. That's why you have me here, I understand a little." Her eyes widened again. No one had ever said such words to her. The kindness in his voice, the calm in his eyes, made her feel as if she could breathe for the first time in years. She whispered, "Thank you, Ethan." The crowd continued to move around them, but Ethan did not notice. He focused on Illyra, listening, smiling, and talking quietly. He asked her about her home, her favorite things, her memories of Solara. She hesitated at first, unsure if she should speak, but the more he listened, the more she opened up. She told him about her favorite gardens, the tall crystal towers, the gentle rivers, and the songs her people sang at sunrise. Ethan asked questions, laughed softly at her small jokes, and encouraged her to tell more. Hours seemed to pass, though only minutes had gone by. The waiting hall was still crowded, yet around their small corner the crowd felt distant, almost irrelevant. Illyra no longer felt the weight of whispers and fearful glances. For the first time, she felt seen as someone important, someone worthy of attention, someone who could be treated like a queen. A station guard walked past and frowned at them. "Ma'am," he said to Illyra, "you should move. This area is not safe for your kind. Come with me." Illyra froze, fear rising in her chest. She opened her mouth to speak, but Ethan placed a hand gently over hers. "It's okay," he said quietly. "We're not going anywhere yet. Just sit here a little longer." The guard's brow furrowed, but Ethan met his gaze calmly. "She is safe. She is with me. If there's a problem, we can talk, but she is not causing any trouble." The guard hesitated, unsure how to respond. Finally, he nodded stiffly and walked away, muttering to himself. Illyra exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. "See," Ethan said softly, "nothing to worry about. You're safe as long as I'm here." Illyra looked at him, her eyes shining. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust him completely. Slowly, she nodded. I believe you." The moment felt fragile, delicate, as if it could shatter with the wrong word. Yet Ethan's presence was steady, unwavering, and strong in its quiet way. Around them, the station moved on, people came and went. But for Illyra, the world had narrowed down to the small corner of the bench where a human man had chosen to sit beside her, treating her like someone precious, like someone important, like a queen. She had never imagined such kindness could exist. She had never imagined anyone would simply sit with her, listen to her story, and care about her feelings. And as the minutes stretched into hours, she felt a small spark of hope, a tiny flame that had almost been extinguished in the coldness of the galaxy. And that was how Illyra learned that sometimes a single act of kindness could change everything. The station continued to buzz with life. Ships arrived and departed, people moved quickly from one gate to another, and loud announcements echoed through the metal halls. Yet in the small corner where Ethan and Illyra sat, time seemed to slow. They remained side by side on the worn bench, talking quietly, the noise around them fading into a distant hum. Illyra still felt nervous. Though Ethan's presence was comforting, the fear of humans still lingered deep inside her. She noticed people staring from a distance, whispering to one another. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others looked angry that a human would be so calm and kind toward her. She knew their whispers, their fears, their prejudices were not about her directly. They were about the stories they had heard. Still, it made her heart pound. Ethan seemed to notice, but he did not make a big deal of it. He simply smiled at her and asked, "Do you usually travel alone?" Illyra shook her head. No, I used to travel with my family before everything, before the war. Now I have no one, only me. Her voice was quiet, almost trembling, but she did not look at him. Ethan nodded slowly. That must be very lonely. It is, she admitted softly. And humans avoid me. Even when I need help, no one comes, everyone stays away. She looked down at her hands. Her voice sounded small and weak, but it carried all the weight of her loneliness. Ethan placed his hand gently on hers. I'm here now, he said, and I will stay with you. You don't need to be afraid while I'm around. Her golden eyes widened slightly. The warmth in his words made her chest ache in a strange way. She wanted to believe him completely, yet a part of her worried it was too good to be true. You really mean that? She whispered. Of course I do, Ethan said with a calm smile. No games, no lies, I just want to help you feel safe. She looked at him, studying his face. It was honest, steady, and kind. She had never seen a human like him before. Most humans looked at her with fear, anger, or curiosity that felt cold and dangerous. Ethan looked at her with something new. He looked at her like she mattered. As they spoke, a few people passed by and whispered under their breath. One man muttered angrily, "Why is that human sitting with her? Doesn't he know who she is?" Alira flinched. She had grown used to these whispers, but it still hurt to hear them. Ethan noticed and said softly, "Ignore them. They don't understand. It's their fear talking, not the truth." Alira nodded slowly. She wanted to believe him, but the fear in her chest was stubborn. Yet for the first time in a long time, someone was giving her a reason to trust, a reason to hope. They continued to talk. Ethan asked about her home planet, Solara, and she told him stories of crystal towers that reflected the sun, rivers that sang with soft melodies, and gardens filled with flowers that glowed at night. She spoke of her family, of traditions and festivals, and of songs her people sang at sunrise. Ethan listened carefully, asking gentle questions and laughing softly at her small jokes. As the conversation went on, Alira noticed something strange. A few humans were slowing their pace, watching them from a distance. Some whispered to each other, pointing subtly, while others avoided looking at all. Ethan did not notice, or maybe he did not care. His attention remained on her. After a while, a young human woman in a medical uniform approached them. She looked nervous but curious. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I couldn't help but notice she's an alien, right? From Solara?" Alira stiffened. Humans rarely asked her directly, and when they did, it was usually to mock or attack. She looked at Ethan, unsure what to do. Ethan smiled gently. "Yes," he said. "Her name is Alira. She's traveling alone." The woman's eyes widened slightly. "Oh, I'm Claire. I work here as a medic. I just wanted to check if she's okay. Sometimes the station isn't safe for travelers like her." Alira's heart skipped. Someone was actually asking if she was okay, not because of fear, not because of rumors, but simply to help. She nodded softly. I'm okay, thank you." Claire smiled a little awkwardly. "Good, I just wanted to make sure." She hesitated, then asked, "Are you hurt or tired?" Alira shook her head. "No, I'm fine," Ethan spoke up. "She might be tired from the journey, but nothing serious. We're just waiting for her next ship." Claire looked at Ethan with surprise. You are with her?" "Yes," Ethan said simply. "She's safe with me." Claire raised her eyebrows slightly. She looked at Alira, then at Ethan. "That's unusual. Most humans avoid her kind." Alira nodded. "Yes, they do, always." Ethan shrugged. "I don't see why. Everyone deserves respect, don't they?" Claire studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I suppose they do." She smiled faintly at Alira. "It's good to see someone treating her kindly." The three of them sat together for a while. Ethan continued talking quietly to Alira, asking her questions about her favorite songs, her memories of home, and even small things like the food she liked. Alira responded hesitantly at first, but slowly she began to open up. Her voice became stronger, her gestures more relaxed. The warmth of attention, the absence of fear, was comforting in a way she had not experienced in years. Time passed, and the station's announcements called travelers to different gates. Yet Ethan and Alira remained in their corner. The world outside continued, but here in this small space a bond was forming. Suddenly a group of humans carrying weapons entered the waiting hall. They were looking for something or someone. Whispers ran through the crowd. Fear spread quickly. People began to move away, creating space around the group. Alira's heart began to pound. She knew trouble when she saw it. Ethan noticed her tension immediately. "Stay calm," he said softly. "We're not going anywhere yet, just stay with me." Alira nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. She clutched her bag tightly. Ethan placed his hand gently over hers again, a silent reassurance. The armed group moved quickly through the station, scanning faces. Alira's breath caught as they paused nearby, talking to a station officer. She could hear bits of their conversation. Royal blood must capture, no mistakes. Ethan tightened his hand around hers. Don't worry, he whispered. I'll protect you. Alira looked at him, eyes wide. She had never imagined someone would protect her so calmly, so surely. The courage in his actions gave her a strange hope. The group moved on, not noticing them. Alira exhaled, relief washing over her. Thank you, she whispered. You don't need to thank me, Ethan said softly. I'm not leaving your side, no matter what happens. The rest of the afternoon passed slowly. Alira began to feel more comfortable in Ethan's presence. She even smiled a few times, small but genuine. The warmth of friendship, the care of someone who truly listened, was a new and powerful feeling. She realized that perhaps humans were not all the same. Perhaps some were capable of kindness, courage, and understanding. As the sun outside began to dip behind the tall metal structures of the station, casting long shadows across the waiting hall, Ethan asked quietly, Do you think you'll be able to trust humans again? Alira hesitated. I don't know. It's hard. Too many times I've been hurt or avoided. Ethan smiled gently. Maybe you don't have to trust all humans at once, maybe just one at a time. She looked at him, surprised. Just one? Yes, he said. And if that one treats you well, maybe it's enough to start believing again. Alira's golden eyes shone. She had never imagined that one human could make such a difference. Yet here was Ethan, sitting beside her, talking with her, listening, protecting, and caring. He was calm, patient, and kind in a way she had never known. He treated her like she mattered, like she was important, like she was a queen. The moments stretched into the evening, and the station began to quiet down. Travelers moved to their gates, announcements grew softer, and lights dimmed slightly. Yet Alira and Ethan remained in their small corner, talking quietly, sharing stories, and learning about each other. The noise and fear of the station seemed far away, replaced by a fragile, growing sense of trust and companionship. And so in the crowded and chaotic station, surrounded by people who feared or avoided her, Alira found something she had almost lost forever, a human who treated her with respect, care, and kindness. And for the first time in a long time, she felt safe, valued, and seen. In that small corner, Alira learned that courage was not always about fighting or weapons. Sometimes, courage was as simple as sitting beside someone, listening and showing kindness when the world told you to turn away. And Ethan, quietly, patiently, had become that courage for her the next morning. The station was quieter than usual. Most travelers had already boarded their ships, leaving only a few waiting for later departures. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting long patterns on the polished metal floor. Ethan and Alira were still in their small corner of the waiting hall, talking quietly. The events of yesterday had left a mark on Alira's mind. She had begun to trust him, but she still felt a lingering fear. Ethan noticed her hesitation. He reached out and gently touched her hand. You don't have to be afraid anymore, he said softly. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Alira looked at him, her golden eyes wide. But people, they still stare, they still whisper, they don't understand me. They don't have to understand you, Ethan said. What matters is that you understand yourself and that you know someone cares, someone like me. Alira nodded slowly, feeling a warmth she had not felt in years. The simple words of comfort, the calm in his voice, made her heart beat steadily for the first time since leaving Solara. She felt a small hope growing inside her, fragile but real. Just then, Claire, the young human medic, appeared again. She walked toward them with a small device in her hand, looking curious but cautious. Good morning, she said softly. I wanted to check on you, Alira, see if you slept well. Alira hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I slept okay, thank you. Claire looked at Ethan and smiled faintly. I see you're still keeping her company. Yes, Ethan said simply. She is safe with me. Claire glanced at Alira, then back at Ethan. I scanned her yesterday, nothing dangerous. She carries no weapons, no harmful energy, nothing. She is peaceful. Alira's eyes widened slightly. You scan me? Claire nodded. It's my job, but I see now that the scan shows what I already suspected. You are not a threat. In fact, you are someone important. Alira blinked. Important? How? Claire hesitated, then said carefully, Your people, your family, you are royalty, a survivor of a fallen world. The symbol you carry marks you as a peace bearer. Your kind once saved humans many years ago. People just forgot. Ethan's eyes widened slightly, though he remained calm. Is that true? He asked softly. Alira looked down at her hands. Yes, but no one remembers, no one believes it. Humans, they only see fear, danger, nothing else. Claire nodded. I think that's why people avoid you. They fear the unknown, but you carry a history of peace. You were never meant to be feared. Alira felt a mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and disbelief. She had lived her life believing she was unwanted, avoided, and dangerous. Yet here was Claire, a human, telling her that she was not only safe but important. She looked at Ethan. He believed me first, she said softly. Ethan smiled gently. I didn't need proof, he said. I saw who you were, that's enough. Alira felt tears prick her eyes. No human had ever said such words to her. Kindness, trust, and understanding, it all felt overwhelming. Yet she felt safe, perhaps for the first time in her life. They sat in silence for a while, letting the words sink in. Around them, the station continued its quiet activity. Travelers moved to gates, announcements called departures, and a few merchants began setting up their small stalls. Yet for Alira, the world had narrowed to this small corner with Ethan and Claire beside her. After a while, Ethan asked, Do you want to see something? Alira looked at him curiously. See what? I know a quiet place in this station, he said. Away from the crowd, you can relax there, maybe even stretch your legs. Would you like to go? Alira hesitated. She was cautious, as always, but the calm confidence in Ethan's voice made her trust him. Okay, she said softly. They walked together through the station. Ethan led her to a small observation deck that overlooked the docking bay. The view was breathtaking. Massive ships hovered in the air, their engines glowing softly. Humans and aliens moved below, preparing for departures or arrivals. The sun reflected off the metal surfaces, creating a shimmering golden light. Alira's eyes widened. It's beautiful, she whispered. I've never seen anything like this. Ethan smiled. It's peaceful here, isn't it? Away from the crowd, away from the fear. Alira nodded, taking in the view. For the first time in a long time, she felt calm. The fear that had always followed her seemed to fade, replaced by a small sense of hope. As they stood together, Claire joined them. I thought you might like some company, she said softly. Alira smiled faintly. Thank you, both of you. The three of them sat quietly, watching the ships and the people below. Alira began to feel a strange sense of belonging. She was alone in the galaxy, yes, but for the first time she was not entirely alone. She had people who cared for her, who saw her value, who treated her with respect. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang through the station. Red lights flashed and announcements blared over the speakers. Attention all personnel, security breach detected. All travelers remain calm and proceed to safety stations immediately. Alira's heart began to race. She looked at Ethan, fear rising in her chest. What is happening? Ethan's expression turned serious. Stay close to me, he said quietly. Whatever it is, we'll handle it together, Claire nodded. I scanned the area, she said. There are armed intruders. They are looking for someone or something. Alira felt a chill run down her spine. She knew somehow that they were looking for her. Her body tensed, her hands gripping her bag. Ethan noticed immediately. He placed a hand on hers. I'm right here, he said. You're not alone. The intruders moved quickly through the station, scanning faces and checking identification. Travelers panicked, running towards safety stations. The noise, the shouting, and the flashing lights created chaos. Yet Ethan remained calm, his presence a steady anchor for Alira. We need to get to a safe place, Ethan said quietly. Follow me. He led Alira and Claire through a series of corridors, avoiding the main paths where the intruders were moving. Alira's heart pounded in her chest, fear threatening to overwhelm her. Yet Ethan's calm demeanor kept her grounded. She realized that courage was not always about fighting. It was about staying calm, thinking clearly, and protecting those who could not protect themselves. They reached a small maintenance room, hidden from view. Ethan closed the door and locked it. Alira sank to the floor, trembling. Claire knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. You're safe here, she said softly. For now. Alira looked at Ethan, tears in her golden eyes. Why do you stay with me? Everyone else runs away. Ethan knelt down to her level. Because you deserve respect, he said simply. Because you're important, and because no one should be alone when they are in danger. Alira felt a warmth spread through her chest. No human had ever said such words to her. Kindness, courage, and trust, all wrapped in one person, made her heart ache with a strange, new emotion. They stayed in the maintenance room for a while, listening to the chaos outside. Ethan spoke quietly to Alira, distracting her from her fear. He asked about her favorite memories, the songs her people sang, and the colors of her home world. Slowly, she began to relax, the tension in her body easing slightly. After some time, Claire checked the station's communication system. "They're still searching," she said. "But we have a few minutes. We need a plan." Ethan nodded. "We'll wait here until it's safe, then find a way out. We'll move carefully and we'll stay together." Alira nodded, feeling a small spark of hope. For the first time in years, she felt that she was not alone in the galaxy. She had people who cared, who protected her, and who saw her value. She realized that perhaps the world was not as cruel as she had believed. Perhaps there were humans who could be trusted, humans who could be brave and kind. As they waited, Ethan spoke softly. "Alira, you are not just surviving, you are strong, and you will continue to be strong no matter what happens." Alira looked at him, her golden eyes shining with a mix of fear and hope. I will try," she whispered. Ethan smiled gently. "That's all anyone can do." And in that small, hidden room, surrounded by fear and uncertainty, Alira learned something important. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was the presence of trust, the willingness to face danger with someone who believed in you. And she realized that with Ethan by her side, she could face anything. The alarms continued to blare, echoing through the station. Red lights flashed across the walls, and the sound of footsteps and shouting grew louder. Ethan, Alira, and Claire stayed hidden in the small maintenance room, listening to the chaos outside. Alira's heart pounded in her chest, fear and uncertainty rising like a wave. Ethan knelt beside her, his voice calm. "Stay low, stay quiet, and stay with me," he said. "We will get through this." Alira nodded, gripping her bag tightly. She looked at Ethan and saw no fear in his eyes, only determination. His calm presence gave her a strange courage. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she could face the danger ahead. Claire checked the station's security feed. "They are moving fast," she said. "They're armed and they are looking for you, Alira, but they haven't seen this room yet. We have a little time." Alira swallowed hard. Why do they want me?" Ethan looked at her seriously. "Because of who you are, your blood, your title, your people. They think capturing you gives them power, but they don't know you are more than that. You're strong and you're not helpless." Alira's golden eyes filled with determination. I don't want to be taken. I won't let them." Ethan smiled faintly. "Good, I knew you were brave. We'll face them together, but first we need a plan." Claire studied the map of the station. "There is a service elevator nearby. It leads to a hidden exit on the opposite side of the docking bay. If we move carefully, we can get there without being seen." Ethan nodded. "That's our best chance. We leave in 5 minutes. Stay close, follow my lead, and no one gets left behind." Alira took a deep breath, steadying herself. The fear in her chest had not disappeared, but it was now mixed with resolve. She had Ethan by her side, and she knew he would not let anything happen to her. She stood, her small frame trembling slightly, but her eyes held a spark of courage. When the 5 minutes passed, Ethan opened the door slowly. The hallway outside was empty, but the sounds of the intruders grew louder. He gestured for Alira and Claire to follow. They moved quickly, silently, keeping to the shadows. The station was a maze of corridors, each turn bringing new risks. Footsteps echoed behind them, and occasional shouts made them freeze in place. Alira's heart raced, but Ethan's calm presence kept her moving. He whispered directions, guided her around corners, and kept her close. At one point, they passed a large observation window. Below, in the docking bay, the armed intruders moved in formation. They were scanning the crowd, their weapons ready. Alira pressed herself against the wall, trembling. She had never seen such organized danger. She looked at Ethan, fear in her eyes. "You can do this," he said softly. "Just a little further, stay with me." Alira nodded, her hands gripping his arm for support. Together, they moved down the corridor, slipping past guards and avoiding the main hallways. Claire led the way with her small device, showing the safest route to the service elevator. Finally, they reached the elevator. Ethan opened the door carefully and gestured for Alira to step inside first. She hesitated, then obeyed, her small frame shaking but determined. Ethan followed, and Claire entered last. Ethan pressed the button, and the elevator began to move slowly downward. As the doors closed, Alira exhaled, relief flooding her. We made it," she whispered. "Not yet," Ethan said calmly. "We're not safe until we're out of the station." The elevator descended into the lower levels. The walls were dimly lit, and the smell of oil and machinery filled the air. Elira looked around, noticing pipes and cables running along the walls. She realized how quiet it was down here compared to the chaos above. After a few minutes, the elevator stopped. Ethan opened the door and they stepped into a narrow service corridor. It led to a hidden exit that opened onto the far side of the docking bay, away from the main crowd. The corridor was empty, and the noise of the intruders above was faint. Elira felt a small spark of hope. They were close to safety. She walked beside Ethan, her steps slow but steady. She looked at him, her golden eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for staying with me," she whispered. "Always," Ethan said softly. "I promised I wouldn't leave you." Claire followed quietly, keeping an eye on the corridor. "We should move quickly," she said. "They could still find us." They reached the exit door. Ethan opened it slowly, peeking outside. The docking bay was busy, but their hidden path was clear. He gestured for Elira to follow. She stepped outside, feeling the cool air and the bright sunlight on her skin. It was a relief after the darkness of the station corridors. They moved quickly, keeping to the shadows, until they reached a small maintenance area at the edge of the docking bay. Ethan stopped and looked at Elira. "We're almost safe," he said. "Just a little further." Elira nodded, her small hands gripping her bag tightly. She had never imagined she could escape something so dangerous. Yet with Ethan by her side, she felt a courage she had never known. Suddenly, a voice called out. "There they are!" Elira froze. She looked around and saw several armed intruders approaching. Her heart pounded in her chest, fear threatening to take over. "Stay behind me," Ethan said calmly, positioning himself in front of Elira. "We can do this." The intruders moved closer, their weapons raised. Ethan glanced at Claire, who held a small stun device. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," she whispered. The intruders fired first, but Ethan was quick. He pushed Elira to the side and dodged the attacks. Claire activated her stun device, sending a pulse that knocked the nearest intruder off balance. Ethan grabbed a metal pipe from the ground, swinging it to block another attack. Elira watched, her fear mixing with awe. Ethan moved with precision, protecting her without hesitation. She realized then that courage was not just about being brave alone. It was about standing together, protecting each other, and facing danger without giving in to fear. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. I can help," she whispered. Ethan looked at her, surprised but calm. "Good, stay close and do exactly what I say." Elira nodded. She stepped forward carefully, using her small size to slip between the intruders' legs, tripping one of them. Ethan used the moment to push the attackers back, creating a small opening. Claire sent another pulse from her device, stunning 2 more intruders. Together, the 3 of them moved quickly through the maintenance area. Elira began to feel a strange confidence. She realized that fear was still there, but courage could coexist with it. She could act, protect herself, and trust those who trusted her. Finally, they reached a hidden exit that led to a small landing area outside the station. Ships were preparing to leave, but the area was mostly empty. Ethan led them toward one of the smaller transport crafts, a quiet vessel that could take them to safety. Elira climbed inside first, her small frame still trembling but filled with determination. Ethan and Claire followed. Ethan started the engines and the craft lifted off smoothly. Elira watched the station recede below them, the chaos shrinking into the distance. As they flew toward safety, Elira turned to Ethan. You saved me," she whispered. "We saved each other," Ethan said softly. "And we're not done yet. We still have a long way to go." Elira nodded, feeling a sense of hope stronger than ever before. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. And with Ethan by her side, she knew they could face anything together. The craft flew into the open sky, leaving the station behind. Elira looked out the window, watching the stars begin to appear. She felt a sense of peace she had never known. For the first time, she was not just surviving, she was alive, protected, and respected. And she knew that with Ethan, she could face the challenges ahead. Together, they were stronger than any fear, any danger, or any enemy. In that moment, Elira understood something important. Courage, kindness, and trust were the true weapons in a dangerous world. And she had found all 3 in a human who had chosen to sit beside her, treat her like a queen, and never abandon her, no matter what the small transport craft glided through space. leaving the station far behind. The red alarms, the shouting, and the chaos were now just distant memories. Inside the cabin, Elira sat quietly, her golden eyes fixed on the stars outside the window. She felt a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and something new, hope. For the first time in a long time, she believed that she was not completely alone in the galaxy. Ethan sat beside her, checking the navigation controls. His calm demeanor had not wavered since the danger had begun. He glanced at Elira and smiled softly. "You're doing well," he said quietly. "You stayed brave and you didn't panic. I'm proud of you." Elira looked at him, surprised. No one had ever praised her for courage. Usually, humans only judged her, avoided her, or feared her. Yet here was someone who saw her strength and acknowledged it. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. I couldn't have done it without you." Ethan shook his head. "You could have, I just helped. The bravery came from you." Claire, who was monitoring the sensors in the corner of the cabin, smiled faintly. "He's right. You were calm, focused, and smart. Most people would have panicked." Elira's lips curved into a small, shy smile. She had never thought of herself as capable of bravery. Fear had been her constant companion for years. But now, after everything she had faced, she realized that courage had been inside her all along. She had only needed someone to believe in her to see it. The craft flew for several hours, passing through quiet stretches of space. The stars shimmered outside the window, vast and endless. Elira leaned back in her seat, feeling the hum of the engines beneath her. She looked at Ethan again. Why do you care about me so much?" she asked softly. "I'm different. My people, they are not trusted. Humans, they fear me." Ethan turned to her, his eyes steady and kind. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "You deserve respect, safety, and kindness. Being different doesn't make you less worthy. It just means some people need to learn to see you for who you really are." Elira studied him, feeling tears prick at her eyes. No one had ever said such words to her before. She wanted to believe him completely, but she also wanted to hold on to the hope that he was telling the truth. "You really mean that?" she whispered. "I do," Ethan said, "and I will stay with you until you're safe no matter what." Elira nodded, feeling a small, fragile smile grow on her lips. For the first time, she felt a sense of belonging. Someone cared about her, not because of fear, not because of duty, but because of kindness, courage, and respect. Hours later, the craft approached a large human settlement on a distant planet. It was a peaceful world, with tall buildings, green parks, and clean streets. Ships moved quietly in and out of the docking bays, and the atmosphere felt calm. Ethan guided the craft toward a hidden landing area, away from the main crowd. As they touched down, Elira felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had survived danger, but she still did not know what awaited her here. Would humans accept her, or would fear and suspicion follow her everywhere she went? Ethan led the way out of the craft, with Elira and Claire following closely. The landing area was quiet, and the streets beyond were empty. Ethan stopped and turned to Elira. "We're almost safe," he said. "Just a little further and you'll be somewhere you can rest and be protected." Elira nodded, her small hands gripping her bag tightly. She felt a sense of anticipation, a mixture of hope and caution. She looked at Ethan, her golden eyes shining. I'm ready," she whispered. They walked through a series of quiet streets until they reached a large building surrounded by walls. Ethan pressed a hidden button and the gate opened. Inside was a safe house prepared for travelers and refugees. The interior was warm and welcoming, with soft lighting, comfortable chairs, and food waiting on the tables. Elira stepped inside, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. She had survived danger, and now she was somewhere safe. She looked at Ethan and Claire, her voice soft. "Thank you for everything," Ethan smiled gently. "You don't need to thank me. We did this together, and now you can rest." Claire nodded. "You're safe here, no one can find you easily, and you can start thinking about your next steps." Elira sat down on a soft chair, her small frame trembling slightly. She felt exhausted, but the exhaustion was mixed with a strange sense of triumph. She had faced danger, escaped capture, and discovered courage within herself. More importantly, she had found humans who treated her with kindness and respect. After a while, Ethan spoke softly. "Elira, there's something I want you to understand. Your people, your history, it matters. Humans may have forgotten, but your legacy is important. You have the power to change how humans see your kind. You can show them that fear is not the truth, that kindness and courage are." Elira looked at him, eyes wide. "Me, I don't know if I can." Ethan shook his head gently. You can, and you don't have to do it alone. I'll be with you, Claire will help, and eventually others will learn too. Elira felt a sense of responsibility. For the first time, she realized that her actions could influence others. She had always been seen as weak, alone, or dangerous. But now she had the chance to show humans the truth about her kind. Days passed, and Elira began to settle into the safe house. She practiced moving carefully, learning about human technology and preparing for the future. Ethan stayed by her side, guiding her, protecting her, and encouraging her. Claire helped her understand human society, teaching her how to communicate clearly and earn trust. One afternoon, Elira stood at a window looking out at the city below. She felt a strange mix of emotions, hope, determination, and a small pride she had never felt before. She turned to Ethan, her voice soft. I think I can do this. I can show humans that my people are not dangerous, that we are like them and maybe even more. Ethan smiled warmly. I knew you could, and I'll be with you every step of the way, Claire nodded. You're strong, Elira, braver than most humans I know. Elira felt tears prick her eyes. She had never imagined such support, such belief in her. She realized that her life was no longer defined by fear and avoidance. It was defined by courage, kindness, and the people who believed in her. Weeks later, Elira was formally acknowledged as a royal survivor. Human authorities, after careful verification, recognized her lineage and her role as a peace-bearer. There was a ceremony, simple but meaningful, where humans and a few trusted aliens welcomed her. Ethan stood by her side, quiet but proud. Claire assisted with the event, ensuring everything went smoothly. Elira knelt briefly to show respect to the humans who had verified her status. Then she looked at Ethan, her golden eyes shining. You helped me, she whispered. We helped each other, he said softly. And now the world sees you for who you really are. Humans and aliens alike watched her with respect. Some still whispered in surprise, but the fear that had once surrounded her was gone. She felt a sense of triumph, not from power, but from trust, courage, and the kindness of one human who had believed in her when no one else did. After the ceremony, Elira walked through the crowd with Ethan by her side. People began to approach her, not with fear, but with curiosity and respect. She realized that one person's courage and kindness could change the way the world saw her. And that person was Ethan. That night, Elira sat with Ethan in the safe house, looking out at the stars. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and peace. I never imagined that one human could change everything for me, she said softly. Ethan smiled gently. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to sit beside you, to believe in you, and to treat you like a queen. Elira nodded, tears of happiness in her eyes. She had survived danger, discovered courage, and found humans who respected her. She realized that her future was no longer defined by fear, but by trust, hope, and the people who cared for her. As the stars shimmered outside, Elira knew that she had found something priceless: friendship, courage, and a human who would always be by her side. And with that, she felt ready to face anything the galaxy might bring. And so, the alien girl, once feared and avoided, was now recognized as a queen in her own right, not just by her people, but by humanity. And she knew that the courage and kindness of one man, Ethan, had changed everything for her and for the future of her kind. The galaxy was vast, and dangers remained, but Elira's heart was strong. She was not alone, she was respected, and she was free. And with Ethan at her side, she could face any challenge that came next. And for the first time in her life, Elira smiled freely, knowing that she had found a place in the universe where she belonged.